Here are 7 steps to making life-changing choices.
The first thing is
The national debt is just, I mean, it's not ticking. Oh, it's just the clock's ticking. It's not a tick. It's like turbo spinning. Sometimes the world seems like it's just absolutely out of control.
truth.
And certainly out of my control or out of your control. Thinking about it, especially even just with the weather right now, everything just seems to be out of our hands. What are we going to do about that? That's the question. Welcome to Dust or Mud Podcast, episode 32. We have our new t-shirts on, guys.
That's right.
In case you guys didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Today we just want to dive in a little bit to when things are out of control and we feel like they're out of our hands. We do have choices. Those choices can lead to maybe greater freedom whenever we're feeling as if we are in a bit of a bondage.
Yeah, that's true.
A couple of years ago, about 3 years ago.
3 years ago this week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was MLK weekend.
Yeah.
And we took some time and went on a trip.
We did. To
come out here and come look for property. Because you were feeling a little, what?
I was feeling dissatisfied, I think, with where I was. It was the like you're talking about, maybe a little bit out of control, just a not real sure I am where I want to be anymore, or I'm not sure that I want to be where I am anymore.
I don't want to be doing what I'm doing anymore.
Not sure that I want to be doing what I'm doing anymore. And we had been discussing the possibility of having land and wanting, at least 100 acres, and just decided hey, let's take a trip and see what we can see.
Yeah, so we did, and we took a trip and came out to the Midwest and started looking for land, found the land, closed on the property. It moved really fast. And the next thing you know, we were making choices that we didn't know we were going to be making that soon.
Yeah.
Because you came home about 2 weeks later after making the offer on the property and said, I'm done. And we weren't really necessarily ready at that point to be done with that particular career and to retire from the Air Force then.
Yeah.
And we went through a process of decision making.
Yeah.
We had to quickly do some research. What I say to you,
run the numbers.
Run the numbers. Like, can we live on that?
Yeah.
Can we put ourselves in a financial situation where we can?
Yeah.
What's it going to mean if we do? And we had to really start getting down to brass tacks, literally. And we came up with the fact that, yes, we can. Let's do it. And we're going to make some sacrifices. Things are going to change, but those sacrifices might be worth the freedom because you don't want to be doing what you were doing anymore.
Yeah.
And the more I've been banging it around in my head about freedom, sometimes freedom doesn't always look like things are rosy. Sometimes freedom looks like sacrifice. Because the paychecks might go down, but our mindset and our heart and what we're doing might be so elevated and come to a new place to where the sacrifice isn't even hardly felt. Right?
Yes.
So it brings us to we had to decide what we were going to do, and we did. But a lot of changes have happened. You don't work for defense anymore.
Yeah. No.
Right?
No. We work for all these animals now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We were talking to someone on the phone the other day who was very much considering an entire career change.
Yeah.
And going through the process of making those choices. And what do you do? Like, well, what are the steps that somebody would take to make a big leap
Yeah.
on a choice like that?
Yeah. I think step one, or what we came up with at least, was step one is self-reflection. And I think that's probably ongoing. If you have a choice that is imminent, you have probably been doing some self-reflection. You have come to a place that there is now a choice.
Yeah.
And so some self-reflection on how did I get here? What is the choice? I believe is important at this point. If you can actually label the choice, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Not just I'm not really happy, or I don't like where I am or what I'm doing. Actually do some self-reflection and come up with what is the choice here, and maybe even give it a name. For us, this whole thing, the choice was retiring from the Air Force. Like that was really the name of our choice.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Are we going to do this? Are we going to retire? And that was, we talked a lot about that, and really reflecting on the choice.
Yes.
I think what we came up with as the second step is research and information gathering.
Well, bring me the numbers. Let's run the numbers.
Yeah, and that's as we really started looking at maybe it's time. Then at that point, the research really started. Can we financially do this?
Right.
Can we physically do this?
Right.
Can we mentally do this? Like there was a lot of gathering information.
What is it really going to take? And are we willing? I think the third thing is risk assessment. So after we run the numbers and we come up with, okay, this is what it is, you have to determine for yourself and for your family, is it worth it?
Right.
Can we do it? I don't want to do this anymore. There are a lot of people leaving, say, certain states.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So willing and ready to get out of their suburbia life or whatever the case is, to go and just hook to their camper and leave.
Right. They did a risk assessment and determined
it was
worth it. Yep. So that's the third step is do a risk assessment and determine whether or not it's worth it.
What are the sacrifices going to be?
Step 4 is maybe seek some advice, mentorship, talk to somebody, make sure that you haven't built yourself a sandcastle in the sky that you're wanting to move into.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You don't want to put yourself or your family into harm's way over
Correct.
it, right?
That's right.
You want to make a good decision.
Maybe chat with somebody just to make sure that that what you've come up with is actually something that's realistic, viable. Yep. Step 5 then is plan and prepare. Planning and preparation.
Start writing it down.
I think that's very important. One of the things that I started doing very early on in our Air Force career was keeping a notebook, and it was just our permanent change of station, our PCS notebook. And man, we really I would dump information in there, and I just carried around, and it seemed like the further along in the career I got, it went from a little 1-inch binder to a 3-inch binder.
One. Yeah.
Because I learned how much information it takes to make a big choice, a big life choice. For me, it took a lot of information. And so I would use clear sleeve, paper sleeves and a 3-ring binder, and just piles and piles of information as we planned and prepared for a move. So even for this retirement, I think I had 2 or 3 binders as one career ended and a new career started.
I had my own binders.
Yeah, we really did gather a lot of information and plan.
Yeah, and we wrote down our plan too, write down your plan, write down your goal,
Yeah.
write down with your significant other, your family, get together and write down, this is where we're going. This is everybody getting on board. This is where we're going and this is what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And this is what it's going to take from everybody.
Yep.
Because if you're planning an entire career change, you're going to have to swing over here back to student and not the expert on something. Your whole mindset, you're kind of, your whole, everything is going to change. And if you do that, that's amazing. You just need a team around you. You need support. You all have to support one another because you may go through financial troubles. You may have to start pinching pennies real tight because you're leaving a lucrative career and you're going to go do something completely else. And we don't know how and how much money it's going to cost.
Right.
And all of the things. But if we're not a team, it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
So really make sure you write it down and everybody's on board with your goals.
Yeah. Thinking through this, I think this is a time to bounce back and forth between your risk assessment and your planning preparation. Go back to the information that you found as you were doing your risk assessment and really use that, as a way to help you plan.
Right. Because, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
When you don't have the same health insurance? What are
Right.
you going to do when X, Y, or Z comes along? You need plan, assess. And I don't think that goes away, especially when you're in the middle
Oh, yeah.
of
Right.
actually making the thing happen.
Yeah. The next step number 6 is take the leap. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
So I think people, it is so natural to get stuck in the planning and preparation stage.
Oh, yeah.
The plan is never quite good enough. And we would talk about, especially,
Analysis
I'm
paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. I'm a military planner. Like that is an actual thing. I'm trained at that. Even just for a daily sortie in a fighter squadron, or what's happening today.
Yeah.
It's funny. I asked our second daughter, who is in a fighter squadron now. She was complaining about the amount of time that she had been given in order to prepare for one of her upgrade rides, and I sort of poked and needled at her a little bit and asking, well, how much time would you like?
All of it.
The answer is all of it. I said, it was, a common joke was that how long is it going to take you to plan for this mission? About 5 minutes longer than I have.
Always.
No matter what the time allotted was, it's going to take just a little bit longer to plan for it. And so I think that it's very common to get stuck in that planning and preparation stage. I'm just not quite sure yet.
Bank account's not quite big enough.
I can't quite do it yet. And so I think that the take the leap step, that's the big step.
Yeah.
And I think
it's
that's
the most important step, because you can plan all day long while you're still sitting back there on number 1 in your self-reflection, wishing you was doing something else.
Yeah. Take the leap. For us, this whole career change, this whole thing, these steps all the way through taking the leap. So from step 1 to step 6, I would say step 1 started about a week before we made this trip, as we started really thinking we might want to do something else. So that would have been the first week of January. In 21 was really when we started saying,
we're afraid to do this.
There's
something's fixing to happen.
something we're like I say, the self-reflection started. By the second week of January, we had an offer
on this place,
on this property. we closed on the property. Within a week of closing on the property, I said, I'm finished.
Yeah. It went pretty fast.
And from there, we really started doing the risk assessment and talking to some folks and starting the plan and preparation.
Right.
By April, I had dropped my papers.
Applied for retirement.
Yeah, applied for retirement. By June, you
didn't go to work anymore.
We lived on the property.
Right. So 6 months later, we were literally, it was to the weekend. 6 months later,
that's right.
We were here.
Right. So the action really do it. Once you have come up with a plan.
Right.
The risk assessment says, yes, I can do this. Here's a plan, not a perfect plan.
No, you're not going to get to perfect because you need all the time to make that happen, right? Just like the sortie planning.
But that's where I really feel like that's where people get stuck.
Yeah.
Is in that trying to find the perfect plan and just never quite getting there. It's never quite good enough. The plan just never quite is there. And so the action never actually gets done. The choice never gets made.
And there are a million excuses to not execute change.
Yeah.
There are a million excuses to not execute change. But if change is the thing that is going to unbind your hands and give you what you have determined more freedom through the choice that you're making, one excuse after another excuse after another excuse will keep you shackled to the thing that you don't want to be shackled to.
Yep.
So we can make choices. What is your choice? Whether it is, man, it doesn't have to just be about career though.
No.
It can be choices about our dietary choices. We've been talking about keto for quite a while now. And just to switch gears, because the world, you just turn on the news and it just drives you to, man, things feel so out of control to me. I don't have any control over who's going to run the country next. I don't have any control over that. I don't have any control of how cold it is outside. I don't even have any control over what the food industry says is good or is bad or whatever, and they decide to put it in the grocery stores. I don't have any control over that either. But I do get to make choices. And through action, we can liberate ourselves from hopelessness.
You can actually have a feeling of freedom.
Yes.
By making a choice.
Yes. Yes. I can feel free from the junk food aisle when I walk over there and go buy some meat. Look what I just didn't do.
One of the biggest benefits that we've talked about with keto is being free from hunger.
And cravings.
Just that choice of how we eat gave us freedom from hunger and cravings. So I agree with you that the choices often lead to freedom. Yeah.
Personal
freedom. Yeah.
Personal freedom.
And then step 7 is to adapt and grow. So once you've made the choice, that doesn't mean that everything is over.
No, because your house might get messy.
Yeah.
And there's the adaptation.
Yeah.
And the growth on what's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm not advising senior leaders on what the nation should do as far as our defense strategies go.
You just have to watch it.
I just have to watch.
It's not always fun to watch.
No.
Certainly not right now.
I can't affect the strategy.
No.
I can't affect our next acquisition purchases.
No.
There's, adaptation isn't always just, do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's also in your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
being okay with the choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because you do have to change your thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. When you take off a uniform and you no longer identify, that's no longer your identity wrapped up in the uniform. You got to find it somewhere else. And that's because of a choice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a little liberating because
Right.
look at your facial hair.
Right?
All right. That you get to have. However long you want, you proved that 2 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
So freedom through action is huge to me. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Continue to complain about it, whatever the thing is, whether it's the debt. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Sure.
$1.25 trillion. The national debt is just, it's not ticking. Oh, it's just the clock's ticking. It's not a tick. It's like turbo spinning. Personal debt is kind of doing the same thing. It's reflecting the national debt.
Yeah.
But we feel so out of control about the national debt while we continue to just swipey. Instead of doing the hard thing and saying, no.
So there's a choice in which you can find personal freedom. You don't have to choose to be in debt.
Right.
You can make a choice, and through that choice, find freedom.
Yes.
You can find freedom from debt.
And it is liberating.
Right.
And sometimes finding freedom in that might lead to being able to make other choices.
Right.
So, action. Do something. Just do something. There we go. I better step it back. Here are 7 steps to making life-changing choices.
The first thing is self-reflection.
The second thing is research and information gathering.
Third, assess the risk.
Number 4, find yourself a mentor and get some advice.
Fifth step is plan and prepare.
Number 6, do it. Take the leap.
Finally, adapt and grow once you've made the decision.
And until next time,
Bye.
bye y'all.